All right, welcome back to the Metro Jiu Jitsu podcast. I'm Coach David here with Coach Mohammad Abdrabboh. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing good. Thank you for the Big B coffee.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh my goodness. I should buy stock in Big B. I go there so much, and they're not even paying us to say that. It's just close to the gym. And I actually tried your. I ordered for you. You got a caramel marble, and I was like, I need one of these. And tell me what's in it because I might try it as well. So that's all right.
Yeah, it's not a health podcast, but. So I will admit that I got extra caramel, a tall something drink. That's roughly about $10, was it?
Yeah, I was surprised. Yeah, they're like probably $6.50 a piece. So for a large, but yeah. Whatever.
That's why I was laughing in my text because I knew you didn't expect to pay $10 for a coffee.
Whatever. All right, so we got some more questions coming our way. You are gonna ask me this time, so I'll do my best to answer them, and we'll get right into it. What do you got?
Yeah, so one of the most common questions that we get from people who are messaging us and calling in to Metro Jiu Jitsu is, and I believe this is probably prevalent in the community, is for parents, what age is too young to start Jiu Jitsu? What age and why, and what could they expect? What should they look for?
Yeah, well, we start. I'm sure it's different for each different programs. We start ours. If you have a mature 4-year-old, we'll put them in the program. Typically, technically on paper, we start at 5. But if they're mature, they start at 4. Any younger than that, like I have a 3-year-old, I'd love to. I will put her in jiu-jitsu, but at any younger than that, it's just hard to keep their attention, and you have difficulties, and they're distracting the class. That would be so. I guess that's our cutoff. A mature 4-year-old, bring them in. We'll assess them.
Okay. So, they bring in a 4 or 5-year-old. What could they expect? What could a parent expect at 4 or 5 years old? Because wouldn't it be fair to say they just potty trained not long ago, and they might still need assistance getting to the bathroom?
Well, I'm not. I'm by no means the parenting guide, but I'm just going based off. My daughter's 3, and I feel like she's been potty trained over a year. So by the time they're 4 or 5, they're definitely able to go on their own. If they do need assistance for some strange reason, mom's got to be here. Mom's got to be here with them. We're jiu-jitsu instructors, but we can't take time off the mat to go handle that. So, but what they can expect is they're in good company. We have a lot of 4 and 5-year-olds. On the mats, first time, they want to build Johnny's confidence. They want to, Johnny got bullied. Johnny, it needs a little bit more structure. He can't focus, things like that. Real common issues with kids of all age, and they're in good company, and they're seeing the results even as young as 5. So,
do 5-year-olds get bullied?
Do 5-year-olds? I think everybody at any age gets bullied. Like at some point. I mean, the stats are somewhere around roughly 1 out of 4 students. But I mean, there's bullying. No one's going to talk about it, but they call it bullying in the workplace. It's called harassment. That's what it's called. So yeah, everyone gets bullied. Right. It's just they term it differently. So
I have children myself. I have 6 of them.
Yeah.
At 5 years old, they're still they really are still children. So at maybe 5 or 6 years old, what should or could a parent expect from a kid to come out of taking martial arts?
So from putting your 5 or 6-year-old in jiu-jitsu,
yeah.
You're gonna notice the mental and character benefits probably sooner than you will the technical side of jiu-jitsu. Okay. Being around an environment where we tell you to do the move, everyone goes and does the move right when we say you to. They might not have the most beautiful scissor sweep, because their motor skills are still developing at 5. But you're going to notice, they pay attention better. You're going to notice their confidence. I mean, their effort that they put into it is going to be huge. So they're going to notice those things a little bit more.
Would it be fair to say martial arts are good for for everybody, for all kids?
Absolutely. I've dwelled on this. I've thought this for a while, and especially now teaching, I think of it even more. I really view it as like the way of the samurai with martial arts, and I always think of that movie like The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise in it. Like they start the kids real young, and they just this whole culture. He's writing in his diary. This whole culture is he's never seen discipline like it, from the infants all the way up to the senior samurai. And I believe that we're not walking around with katanas here, but it's that same character development and structure and respect and everything that we promote here and help grow is it goes into it. So everybody, ages 5 to 105, I believe.
Okay, so before we move on, would it be fair to say that if somebody took their child and put them in Taekwondo or Tang Sudo at 5 years old, they could still expect some character development?
Character development, yeah. Jiu-Jitsu is the only martial art I've done, so you would be able to probably talk more about the Taekwondo curriculum. But character development, I believe there's benefits to all that. The character development. Okay. We're talking about practical self-defense. Now that's where, the Jiu-Jitsu is definitely going to be the obvious choice.
Well, having a bunch of children myself, I personally believe that at 5 years old, kids can use a little self-defense, because if they come from a big family, there's usually some.
They're getting bullied in the household, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It's definitely there's all kinds of dictatorships going on with siblings. Okay, so how about so if we move on to like 7 to 10 years old, when kids start, what could parents expect? What should they expect from a martial arts school? And what should they see? What should they look for?
So you should definitely look for 7 to 10, and I don't think it changes much, with the ages. I mean, it might change a little bit depending on your child's specific needs, but I don't think it changes much. You should look for a school that is sensitive to your child's needs. They don't just throw them in and, well, this is the curriculum we are. This is our culture. If you can't roll with the big dogs, stay off the porch. That's not what they're looking for. But if you should look for a school that has ample space, that's obviously clean, and that has a culture and a positive environment. It's like I think it could be common for there to be some almost like the star-stud quarterback on a football team that's all that school cares about is making him a world champ so they can promote that for their brand. I don't know how well that translates into helping the 24 kids that are being bullied at school. I don't know how well that translates, focusing your entire curriculum around one all-star. So it needs to be focused for each child, and every single person and child in the program needs to be important.
Okay. So you've said in your program that you could bully-proof your kids in 6 months. Can you please elaborate on that?
Yeah, definitely.
Because that's a pretty bold and aggressive statement or goal to bully-proof a kid.
Yeah.
How would you explain that or elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, it goes back to to the fact that it's not just jiu-jitsu that we teach here, and I can't state that enough, because there's plenty of bully-proofing is a mindset, and bullies choose their victims and their targets. I probably a better word for it. They choose their targets. Our power just went out here. Fortunately, I'm running off a battery-powered iPhone. It flickered for a second. It caught me off guard. We're good. We're here in Southgate, and we got like a wind cyclone of 50-mile-an-hour winds or something outside, so that could be part of it. But bullies choose their targets. They're not going to attack the wolf in the pack. You know what I mean? They're not going to attack the alpha. They're going to attack the straggly one. They're going to attack the weak one. So they choose that. So we start first with character development. Confidence is huge. Confidence is number one. If a kid, everyone knows, we can all survey a room and see who the guy in the room is that we don't want to mess with, or who the gal in the room is that we wouldn't want to mess with. So that's number one. Number two is preventing it at all costs. You have to the confidence to not only appear confident but also stand up to the bully verbally first. Like they're not throwing punch. We don't teach any kids to throw a punch and show a bully what's up and never do it again. It's verbal. You use the phrase a lot, verbal judo, which I like. They say something, the bully says something to you. Hey, stop that. That's not nice. Don't do that again.
So I'm asking you as a parent because, we are, for parents taking their kids, enrolling them in any type of organized activity or organized sport, we look at who they're around, what they're doing, the curriculum, what they'll be doing beginning, middle, and end of class. So do you actually stop the physical activity and explain this stuff, or how do you communicate it within the curriculum? Within the curriculum of your school?
We inject it. It's not the same. It's not the same every time. So we kind of inject it as we see it, and typically at the end, sometimes in the middle. It's like I said, it's not the same every time. But we'll take we'll literally pause class. We'll stop, say, hey, get everyone on the wall. Look. We'll talk to them about bravery. We'll talk to them about courage, mutual respect. Mutual respect's a huge one for your teammate. And not they're talking about teammates, but in turn everyone. Anger management. We tell them that no one's best role is ever when they're angry. You're not thinking clear when you're angry. So yeah, and we absolutely take the time to reinforce that, make sure they understand that.
Yeah. So children that have so for parents who have children that are, I wouldn't call it anger issues. I would just say have a problem channeling their emotions, not being able to express them. I know you get a lot of parents in here who bring them in and they talk about ADD. They have anger issues, focus issues. Obviously, it's not a switch you could turn off when you come in here. So when you do see that kind of outburst from children, or you see that their inability to channel out their energy and focus, and it comes out in a way of like maybe breaking down or crying or checking out. How do you deal with that? And what would you say to parents who bring those kids in, and how you're going to handle and deal with that? Because they're going to come out on the mat.
Yeah.
And I've seen, as an instructor myself, I've actually seen some really places that kids have put in vulnerably. They've been really, really vulnerable, and I know people have taken advantage of that. And I know that it's sad to see that they've either been violated or really not cared for. So when those emotions come out, or the outbursts, how do you handle that?
So we're talking about kind of two different emotions, but whenever the child ceases to kind of break down and handle the class efficiently or effectively, whether they run off screaming or they're angry, one of those two main ones, I deal with them accordingly. If they're in tears, child's in tears, I'm gonna, we find out what their issue is. We talk through it, and then tell them, like, look, we don't tell them everything's going to be okay, and that it's, it's okay, you don't have to do this. Like, so many times I've taken a kid aside, why are you crying? Because they went hard. I was like, well, is a bully going to go hard? Is a bully going to, what if this was a bully? What would you do? And, because that's huge. We always want them thinking of going back to why are we training like this? Why are we teaching you here? Because, it's fun for them, right. But we also want to know that there's real world parallels. Okay. Conversely, if someone gets angry and kids get angry, they might throw an elbow or a knee from time to time, and I stop the match immediately. Hey, come here. Why are you doing that? Why are you getting angry? And again, the answer is typically because he was going hard. I was like, all right, well, listen, that's not what we do here. So talking through it, helping them to reason through it, is and letting them know what is and isn't acceptable. I think's a big one.
Okay. Is there anything else in closing that you would like to say or communicate to the public or the industry? I know we can't answer all the questions that have been coming in, but to people who are looking and thinking about it for their children, I believe a lot of parents out there really know that martial arts is good for them, for their children, and that's the first thing they say.
Yeah.
Lots of parents have zero experience with martial arts and even athletics.
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
But they still come in and say, and they're like, I know this is good for them. I want to teach them discipline and focus, and So what would you say to them that haven't took that step, but know that it's out there? Maybe they've seen it in other children or read it somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you're right that I didn't realize how many come in. They're like, I know martial arts is good. I think they're just paralyzed by how many different practices there are. Karate, taekwondo, things like that. So I make sure they know the difference. But then another parallel I get a lot is they view it as just another sport. There's those who they view it as important and they don't separate it, and they're like, yeah, I just want to get him into something. He didn't like football, he didn't like soccer, he didn't like gymnastics, so we're here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's great that you're trying to find your child's thing, but it's not the same. Martial arts is not the same. It's fundamentally different. And that's actually, I've had one of our parents. He said when he first came in, he's like, I was telling them the benefits of jiu-jitsu. He's like, yeah, that's with anything. Any team sport's going to provide those.
Yeah.
And I didn't correct him at the time, but it's I disagree. I mean, living short of there are benefits. Sure, there are benefits to being on a football team. There are benefits to being in any type of community, but it's so much different. One, because jiu-jitsu, you're part of a team, but it's individual performance. Number one, like when you go out and you do the match, you're directly responsible for whether you win or lose. You can't blame it on the quarterback or the point guard or anything else. So that's huge. And then there's also the mutual respect, again, knowing that the good sportsmanship of everyone we roll against is your teammate. When I look at, we were just at a tournament yesterday, and every match I did, every match our guys went against, that's you're almost, even though they're on the opposite team, they're still your jiu-jitsu family from another school. Like, that's that mutual respect that we're extending not just to your team, but to everybody. That respect for who they are, which we promote, and So
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
That mutual respect.
Yeah.
So that mutual respect that you have for other people, other martial artists. I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I've competed in many sports, basketball, football, hockey. You have that respect for the other opponent, but playing as many sports as I have over the last 30 plus years, 40 plus actually, you don't have that same level of respect as you do in other sports as you do in martial arts. Why is that?
That's a good question and a tough question. Jiu-jitsu is really the first kind of sport I've ever been seriously involved in,
mm-hmm.
and I think what it comes down to is it's a tough question. I think it comes down to it's a primitive background, and what I mean by that is like you've got take mankind all the way back to when we first started, and there was just, when we first began, there was no basketball, football, and it was just like it's a life or death struggle kind of thing, or it's a match. And now, like in jiu-jitsu, if you win that match, your opponent has to accept the fact that, look, if I didn't let go of this choke, that was it. It's a lot different than like.
You mean like I could die?
Yeah, like if I didn't let go of this choke, it's up to me whether you pass out or not.
Whether you live or die.
Yeah, so that's a heavy thing.
Yeah,
that's a heavy thing. And then by this so it's personal performance, yes, but then number two, it's like it's just that all these other I'm gonna get tons of flack for this, I know, but all these other sports, it's not as the weight's not there. Like, oh, they made more baskets of a leather ball through a steel rim than I did. That's a lot different than this person strangled me and I had to ask him to let go.
Yeah.
That's different, and that's heavy. But That's how life is. So.
Cool. Thank you so much for sharing this information. I hope we answered all the questions that came through to our messenger and private messages and emails.
Is that what is that ring? Is that ESPN right now?
That is an ESPN ring.
That's ironic. We're talking about other footballs and ESPN's ringing on our jiu-jitsu.
Oh, well, I'm surprised you caught that. Not playing any other sports.
Well, yeah, I know that's marketing at its finest. You know, I know the jingle. That's about it.
So, well, thanks again, and look forward to connecting with this community again soon.
All right, thank you.